anywhere near
They
the
have
United
found
States.
a good gig.
Yeah.
They have infiltrated our legislature.
Yes, they
Of course,
have.
we've talked about
Yes,
that,
they have.
ladies and gentlemen. Former management people from GO and WAC and HUD working right there in the Senate President's office and the Speaker of the House office. Hey, look, I'm saying that they have worked their way in.
Right.
They're in the right places.
Oh, the blame lies with the legislators. The blame does not lie with profit-seeking companies.
Money magically shows up to expand their operation. And, you know, it just goes on and on.
Well, and the next step then is for them to infiltrate the judicial side, which is always open to all kinds of corruption, as we know, especially in this area. For them to infiltrate that side, and then we'll see harsher sentences handed down. We'll see people, you know, put in jail for jaywalking, you know, the horror story, et cetera, et cetera.
And folks, we've already talked about this. In Pennsylvania, it's right there for everybody to see. You had a whole series of judges that were handing out sentences to make sure that a for-profit private prison facility was staying full all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not a conspiracy theory. It's already been done.
It's already happened.
It's already been done.
Yeah.
So
so there's your economic development.
Economic development. $440,000 per job, folks. $440,000 per
So
job.
somebody who's worked for 15, 20 years and is laid off, if that person's taking unemployment compensation, if that's socialism and a welfare queen, what does that make a private profit institution that, let's say, has a close relationship with?
Well, you know, when you look at it from that
government check writers,
they took 150 up front.
Right.
Then they're going to take another 22.
Well, see, they didn't take it because the state built it, and et cetera, et cetera. Right.
They wouldn't be in a position to earn a living if the state hadn't built it for them. So they took it.
Well, if
whether we're making a note on it or not over 10 years is immaterial.
Right.
If we hadn't have signed up for that, they wouldn't be able to sit there with their hand out, getting a check.
If there were no government check writers, that industry would not exist. Let's just put it that way. They are not producing anything that brings, creates wealth or generates any kind of revenue.
It continues to amaze me that
it's a leech organization. It's a leech industry.
It just continues to amaze me that anybody thinks it's okay to give taxpayer dollars to a private for-profit corporation and sneak around while you're doing it and be insulted when you start asking questions about it.
Right. Well, they're leeches, and in my humble opinion, and it's the public that ends up paying through the nose. And
well, we are, and for something that we didn't need. What was our next topic?
Well, if you'll cast your mind back to good old 2004.
Right. I remember 2004.
2004. Where we had this big public meeting, public input rigmarole centered around isolating portions of the north part of the county, farmland areas.
You mean the good old rural development plan?
That was a rural development plan, yes. And what happened was, eventually it was worked out that there would be a line. A lot of people thought it should be at Berry Hill Road, and where northward development would be curtailed and really focused in town areas.
We want to take just a minute here, and I'm going to give you the big picture here. Growth and high density growth is supposed to expand around your centers of infrastructure, folks. Even the state, the DCA, that's one of the things that they look at. The whole idea is you have water, you have main roads, you have infrastructure in place. You should build out in layers around these areas of infrastructure to start out with. Because if you jump out in the middle of nowhere, then the infrastructure is very expensive to put in there.
You create sprawl.
Now, one of the things that our dear old Commissioner Salter said in all of this was, well, you know, looks like Berry Hill. We want to say Berry Hill, and then everything north of that will be handled as a rural property.
Right.
And everything south of that will be considered high density.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got moved to to Willard Norris
Yeah.
Road, and honest to goodness, folks, when you look at a map, and one of the things that you're going to hear our beloved Commissioner Salter tell you is that Willard Norris, that his decision to go with 182 is much more definitive than Willard Norris. Willard Norris is a problem. Well, look at a map, folks. Willard Norris is almost a straight line across the county, almost covers the whole county.
Yeah, we're showing a map right now of the original line that was finally decided on.
It's now he wants to move it all the way to 182.
Right, and that will flip the map up for where, and of course 182 it just sort of starts and ends, and I'm not sure where the clarity comes in there because it starts and ends in the middle of the. Here's what Commissioner Salter said. We're going to play a clip now for. These are his reasons for wanting to move it.
In order to better define that transition line, which I always supported, I'd like to move it to 182 instead of having it as parts of Willard Norris Road, and it just kind of goes out across the county where it's not identifiable. A lot of reasons I'd like to do that. I think growth patterns will eventually move north of Milton. There'll be times that we may want to look at rezonings from 182 back to the south. With the housing cost and the economy that we're in, we should look for opportunities for more affordable housing and land. By keeping it at 182 north, it still protects the prime farmlands, and that was one of our major goals. So just for better definition of where that line is, and so people will understand, I want to recommend us moving it. And here again, it doesn't guarantee anybody anything in that transition zone. Everybody will still have to come to us with rezoning requests. If it makes sense, it'll make sense. If it's urban sprawl, then those things will be considered as well.
Well, Deborah, that's very interesting.
So for clarity,
for clarity, he wants the clarity, and he expressed some concern over what is that phrase?
Urban sprawl.
Urban sprawl.
Right.
He was worried about that.
Right.
But yet he's moved the line some 15 miles further to the north, which will allow urban sprawl.
Well, and he also mentioned, sometime in the future we might want to look at a rezoning out there, and lo and behold, I have the agenda from Thursday's
curious minds.
Hearing.
Curious minds always go look at the paperwork.
Yeah.
What is it? Newton's law: one action causes
equal
another.
And opposite, right.
Equal and opposite reaction.
Right.
Well, folks, when you see our beloved Commissioner Don Salter moving the line to the north,
inching it back,
you got to ask yourself, and maybe there's a reason why. So, Deborah, did you find a reason why?
Well, this is now we don't know how this is going to turn out as of this taping, but this is scheduled for Thursday night. Planning and zoning hearing. This is a parcel, a 958 acre parcel that does fall north of the existing line. But if you move the line
but
back,
it would be south of the new line.
It's south of the new, more clear line.
Right.
958 acre parcel owned by Edwin Henry, agent for UIL Family Limited Partnership. I'm sorry, he's the agent. Applicant is the Family Limited Partnership. And they wanted to change from agriculture to single-family residential land use.
So
So that's good timing on their part.
Well,
what with the line?
Look, our beloved Commissioner Don Salter he only cares about saving farmland. He's never. Oh wait, that's wrong. He has participated in high-density development. I take all that back, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, they were supposed to cluster it out in those zones.
Yeah, well, it's laughable what's going on.
Well, here's the other thing to remember is it's not just single-family residential that's the possibility here. They're working on a transfer of development rights program where somebody who lived north of the line could sell the development rights to their property to somebody south of the line,